Hi, Lois.
Good morning. Happy summer.
Exactly. Happy summer to you. We
Yeah.
are in full swing here in Arizona.
Yes. Well, we had our bit of heavy summer here in Minneapolis too, although now we're getting some badly needed rain. So always a good
Oh,
way to start
good.
the summer.
Good. Well, I want to welcome everybody and thank you for your time. I know it's the end of the quarter for a lot of people, so we appreciate your time as you're trying to get things wrapped up for the quarter. And some people are probably even wrapping up their fiscal year. So it's an
Yeah.
exciting time for a lot of people in our audience. And I know you live in Minneapolis, but you've traveled all over the world. So I'm curious to know if you've ever been to Colombia.
I have never been to Colombia. The
I
furthest south
haven't
I have
either.
been in the Americas is, I think, Costa Rica. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear from our next guest.
I know, I am too. So we're very excited to welcome Johanna Cordovez Amador. She was named a Rockstar Leader in our 2024 Women in Digital Awards in the Americas. And she's the CEO and founder of TXC, which is a really cool combination of technology and social entrepreneurship. So I'm really excited for you all to hear from her. So let's welcome Joanna.
Hi, everybody. Thank
Hi.
you
Hi,
so
Joanne.
much for this invitation.
Well, we're so excited to have you. And I'm so excited to talk about your journey and some of your perspectives on women and technology and sort of the world that we're all living in now. So, Lois, we'll see you as we wrap up.
Sounds good. See you then.
Thank you, Lois. See you later.
So, Joanna, welcome.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation again. Thank you for the audience who has already connected. And I'm really, really excited to see what can we get out of this conversation.
Good, good. Well, it was so interesting for me to explore your background and your journey. You spent your university years studying the public sector, and then you used your entrepreneurial skills to start a company that is focused on not only the public sector, but on non-governmental organizations and enterprises who are trying to leverage technology and data to do good in the world.
That's right.
And I'm curious what drew you to this work.
Well, as you were saying, all my studies they have brought me here actually. But not only that, but something that it has been there since I was really little. Colombia is, as you all know, we have a lot of inequalities, and not only gender-wise, but social-wise, economical, in that sense. So I always thought that I was a very privileged girl, teenager, and then woman who wanted to make a difference, at least or at the beginning in Colombia. So what I wanted to do was to connect the public policy and entrepreneurship to create a real change. As I told you, not only in Colombia, in the region. Let's hope that we can do that worldwide. So I founded TXC around 7, 8 years ago to use data technology for behavioral transformation. What we started was with teenage pregnancy prevention. We have been very successful in that, and I think that was why we won the award last year also. But as a result, then we dropped, for example, in Medellin, which is a very known city worldwide, I believe. We dropped their teenage pregnancy by a 52%,
Wow.
working in 2 years during a 2-year time. And right now, we're not only working in Colombia, but we're also expanding to Ecuador and to Mexico. So practically, we're becoming a social impact multinational.
I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that story. One of the things that you talk about a lot is that given the global economic uncertainty of today, social organizations are under a tremendous amount of pressure.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, as women in pursuing careers in technology, who also care very deeply about our communities. Give us your perspective on some of the opportunities for international cooperation, and maybe potentially some threats that we should be keeping our eyes out for.
Yeah, actually, was as we all know, like you said, has dropped the scene. With that, that means
Mm,
that a lot of the international cooperation has gone to its minimal resources ever, I believe, since international cooperation has been driving the social sector. So it's going to be very, very tough, not only for small, but also for medium organizations, social organizations around the world. Um, we have to add to that that a lot of governments, at least global south, are not investing as much as they were doing before, also for the social impact or environmental impact also. So I believe that measurable impact will drive the funding. So we need to start reorganizing our not only companies but also NGOs or the other kind of organizations. We have to innovate in that sense. Like, how do we measure impact? Are we really creating a long-lasting impact in those areas? And that's something which will cost a lot to many organizations around the world. Anyway, it's also a huge opportunity in different or to start being more innovative in how we bring money to this kind of projects or organization. So, for example, the pay for results mechanisms around the world, it's something that it's going to be very interesting. And they will have to be aligned with ESG, of course, and other kind of measurables or measures that are really impacting our world. I believe also that traditional NGOs will be limited in that sense, because we're outdated, of course, in those charity models. Like, a lot of people just ask me, like, why aren't you an NGO? Why are you a company? And it has to do a lot with how we envision the world, how we envision what kind of organizations do the good for the humanity and for the world, and who are just for the money. That's something that we just have to start changing. And for example, there's another, like, why do we start it as a company, as an enterprise, a social enterprise? And it has to do a lot with our own history here in Colombia and other countries have had a lot of, like, narco traffic issues. So with NGOs here face a lot of restrictions with that, which don't help them to scale or to be more professional with their teams. And of course, that impact first business model changes when you are an NGO or when you're a company in that sense. So I don't know if I answered your question, or do
Yeah, it sounds like TXC is really at the forefront of this concept of measurable impact driving funding and driving cooperation. So I'm curious how you see technology playing a role in social responsibility overall, but in particular in helping to support that measurable impact.
Yeah, I believe that, as I always tell people, like, technology and artificial intelligence are here to stay. Like, a lot of people, like, no, artificial intelligence is bad. We still don't know what's going to happen, the results, how is it going to affect our kids, next generations. Those things we have to figure it out anyway. Like, that's not going to change. Artificial intelligence is not going to go anywhere other than deeper or just starts changing how we think, what we do, how we do it, and how we can scale. So actually, technology amplifies that intention. It can include or it can exclude, of course. Right now in TXC, we're using artificial intelligence, chatbots. We're using also that software as a service platform. So all of that is always driving our positive behavior change at scale. That's something that we couldn't do before. Like when TXC started with this teenage pregnancy, although we have already expanded our focus and themes and areas that we are impacting, we started like 50 people impacted, 100 people impacted, and we were doing it very manually in that sense, very traditional. But with the COVID-19 and the pandemic, then we just, the whole world like opened to us. That's one of the good things that we had from the COVID. And so what we do right now, we have already interventions when we're planning, already impacting 110 women, for example, for preventing breast cancer here in Colombia. We're talking about interventions when we can not only scale, but recollect data on different type of measurements also. Not only like quantity, but also quality, indicators, and impacting in that sense. So I believe that right now our model now applies to health, sustainability, human rights, everything that aligns with ESDGs and ESG globally in that sense.
It sounds like you have really optimized during very difficult circumstances. So that's amazing. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about your personal journey. So with a background in academia and science and technology, and as an advocate for women, how do you make sure that men are seen as allies in that advocacy and that we're having balanced conversations and encouraging that allyship?
Well, Heli, my life changed in that area 6 years ago. I'm a mother of a boy named Joaquin. So I always thought that I was going to have a girl, and I had this imaginary thing going on in my head saying like, okay, I'm going to empower her. She's going to be different, and then like with an echo, they told me like, oh no, congratulations, you're going to have a boy. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And so since that moment, I understood that humanity cannot change if we do not include everybody in any kind of conversation, like it's not really women against men versus men. I've never thought that it was like that anyway, but it really shifted the way that I thought or that I saw the world just becoming a better place, so we have to do it together. I believe I was telling you like a week ago that I was in an amazing event in Mexico about, of course, women's rights and how we're going to change things, and not only sexual reproductive health issues, but also like different type of human rights around women. And it was amazing to see, I don't know, like 5,000 women around the event, but there were so little men in the conversation. So, of course, we needed to like empower ourselves first in that sense, like get together and try to understand what it was that we really wanted. But I believe from the bottom of my heart that we have to start having this conversation with all men around us. It's not easy. I don't think it's an easy conversation. It really depends also on the region worldwide where you're living. You have a lot of countries with a lot of macho still behavioral and like way of thinking and acting. normalizing a lot of things around our life and our daily life. It's very easy to have those conversations. It's going to be tough, but we have to do that. So, for example, we always try to engage in our different type of projects, not only the girls, for example, in teenage pregnancy, because a lot of people tell me like, so you're going to work with the girls? And I always tell like, no, girls and boys, they don't get pregnant alone, you know? And so not only girls, boys, but we also want to do this with parents, with educators, teachers, like society as a whole. So you have to find the right channel, the right way to talk to everybody in that sense. We don't want another kind of war or fights because of this. We just want to find the right way, the middle way in that sense, to get
balance.
to, yeah, exactly, to different
I think
balance.
that was the term that you used. Yeah,
exactly. So internally, for example, I will tell my team like, we have to lead by example, you know. So whatever happens within TXC, it's something that is you're going to see outside, and every time you make a change, you have to do it first in yourself and then to expand it all over the world. So real diversity and shared leadership, I believe, are part of it.
So, Johanna, we have a tradition here at the Women in Digital Talks where we ask our previous guest to share a question for our subsequent guest. And so 2 weeks ago, we had the privilege of speaking with Ipshita Ghosh and Caitlin Kearney, and they have a very detailed question for you. So I'm going to read it so I don't miss anything.
Yeah.
So they ask, we get the feeling that you're driven by the humanistic value that comes from your work, as we are. As someone who wears the hat of an academic, entrepreneur, and humanitarian, how do you balance competing interests, as I'm sure there are many? For example, you mentioned that your company creates tools that have measurable impact, but not every benefit or harm can be empirically measured. Meanwhile, the incentive for profit can make any well-intentioned tool lose track of who it really benefits, the intended audience versus company. So let's hear your perspective on their questions. I know they had so much they wanted to learn from you.
No, that's perfect. Well, so I created TXC with, as I told you before, like building a better world for my 6-year-old son, Joaquin. That's what drives me every day when I wake up, and every meeting that I have, and every project that I do. So I believe that growth has to be intentional, you know. And when everybody in our organization understands that and are like driven by it, I think it's so much easier than when you just sell an organization that just makes profit by itself. So I feel lucky with the kind of team that I have. We also have a very like selective type of things that we will work with and things that we won't work with. You know, we have drop a line, very, very like clear, not only for my co-founder. Sorry, I have a co-founder. My co-founder and my team and I. So that's one thing. About what, not everything can be measurable, of course, or measured in that sense, but I believe that it depends really on what change do you want to see in the world, you know? So we always build up theory of changes, which are focused for this behavioral change, positive behavioral change. So that's one of the things, like what do you consider a positive change? For example, in teenage pregnancy, how do you prevent them from getting pregnant? That's one of the things. We're very ethical in that sense. We're also working, for example, another project is how we increase vaccination for the human papilloma virus in Colombia. within teenagers and within kids also. So it really depends on the type of allies that you're looking for, on how you work with. But of course, you have to be guided by both data and empathy and results in what you want to see in the world. So we use, of course, hybrid methods or models, which are always measuring hard metrics, but also social listening. We have to work with the population we have to hear the population that we're working with, understand their realities, their barriers, their what is it that they really want, what is it that they really need. And I believe that we can make both work, in that sense. And they were asking me also about being a for-profit, and I think, well, as I was telling you, it was also very in my mind. Like, I've always wanted to work for social issues and how can it change a better or live a better place, not only for Joaquin but also for myself since I was very little. And I never understood why huge multinationals, which make us ill sometimes, which make us disconnect from our humanity, which make us, I don't know, so many things that a multinational or a company can do. It is okay for them to have profit, but not for organizations who are trying to fix a lot of things that it's got wrong with humanity or with our environment. So in Colombian case, as I was telling you, we have this history about narco traffic. So NGOs were a lot, like, they were very captive, and they couldn't do so many things. But yeah, companies could. So it was also very, I don't know, it just clicked for me. It just made that click. Like, we can change that thing, we don't need charity to do a lot of good things. We need people who want to do things in the right way, and we can also hire the right people doing the right job at the right time. And that costs, if you want to bring the best of the best for these kind of projects, you also need a lot of money to pay those salaries. So it's something that NGOs here in Colombia are not that easy to do so. And well, we just not want to do only for Colombia, but also for the world.
So I have a bit of a personal question. Is Joaquin as much of a challenger of the status quo as you are?
Oh my God. I'm sure he will be. He's already challenging me every single day.
I bet.
But he's a great communicator too. So instead of challenging me the whole time, he's always negotiating with me. Like, Mama, is it okay if I see a little bit more of TV and then I shut it down and I do and go and run like 20 minutes?
It's so funny. My kids were little when smartphones were just becoming a thing. And I remember my daughter wanted a smartphone so much when she was about the same age as Joaquin. And I made her write a proposal for getting the smartphone, which she did at age 9 or 10 or something like that. It was great.
Yeah, I know. I believe that it's hard, because I remember when I was little, like all the adults told us, you are the new generation, you're gonna change the world, the world needs you. And then you just grow up and see everything is almost as it was 30-40 years ago. And so I feel that we have disappointed new generations, but by not doing everything that we could.
Having gotten to know you a little bit, I would say that you are anything but disappointing the next generation. So second part of the tradition is that we've asked you to have a question for our next guest, who is Lakshmi Varada. She'll be joining us in 2 weeks for a conversation with Lois. So tell us, hopefully Lakshmi's listening, but tell us what your question is for Lakshmi.
Okay, so I'm gonna read it so I don't mess it up, okay?
Okay. All right.
So, Lakshmi, as someone leading large-scale digital transformation, how do you balance speed and innovation with long-term ESG alignments and inclusive impact, especially when working across diverse global teams and context? So
All right.
that's it.
We'll get that question to Lakshmi if she's not listening, and we'll look forward to how she answers that in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Maybe we
for
can bring
sure.
back Lois.
She looks amazing anyway.
Hello, good.
Anyways,
So I have to say you inspired me, and I'm going to tell you how you inspired me to take some action. I think in ISG, we look for use cases or ways that AI is really enabling different companies and different industries, just to help bring awareness to ourselves and to our clients. I think what we should do as a Women in Digital program, look for ways that AI and technology is enabling programs that support women, that support social programs, and also bring visibility to those programs, and also include that in what we put together for on our websites and so forth, because to your point, they should go hand in hand. It shouldn't be this versus that. If you do this and that hurts this, it needs to be just a combined way of approaching it and looking at what technology can do to support just improving our world and our well-being. So thank you for inspiring me. That's my action. I wrote that down. That's what I'm going to do.
Great. I always invite everybody to just write down something. So you did it by yourself. That's lovely. And I believe that everybody has a small role to play, or small, medium, large, extra large, as you wanted to play it. But everybody's a player.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we tell ourselves that, I have nothing to do with that, but we do. We're all interconnected. So thank you so much for including that.
I think that's a great place to end it. So I hope everybody joins us in 2 weeks when we'll be talking to Lakshmi and hear her answer to Johanna's question. Johanna, thank you so much for joining us. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. And congratulations on closing a great quarter.
No,
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a lovely day.